All right, everyone. Hello and welcome. This is going to be my EA press conference for E3 2014 recap and reaction stream, where I'm going to run through everything that EA talked about today, and I'm going to give you my honest opinions on each one, and then give you overall how I think that EA is doing as a company with all the product that they are currently making. Now, keep in mind that as a publisher, EA's product line is very well diversified. They're known as the kind of almost the number one person when it comes to sports games. They're known as the company that pushes all kinds of different things every single year. So let's get into it and talk about it, okay? So, the press conference started out with DICE team, talking about, that's right, Star Wars, the return of Star Wars and Star Wars Battlefront, which has been pretty much, gone for quite a long time. Battlefront 1 and 2 were actually incredibly popular and successful games, so it's kind of funny that it's been so long since we've seen one, okay? And it was kind of weird, and the reason I say that is because the dev team's like, we wanted to be sure that the game would be as good as possible, so we went to the original filming locations of the Star Wars movies, to which I'm like, did you really have to do that, or did you really just take like a paid vacation as a fanboy of the Star Wars universe and say that you needed to see it to make the game? I'm pretty sure that just with watching the movie you could have gotten it close. But anyway, it shows them, doing stuff, but really it didn't show too much in regards to, like, say, solid gameplay or anything like that. But at least from what they showed, it looks really sweet, looks really close to the movies and a lot of the settings and things that they're doing. We'll see what happens with that. It's still very early on, supposedly, so we'll see what happens with that in the future. Okay. So now the weirdest thing happens. The guy who's leading the EA press conference comes out. I swear to God, he's the fucking spitting likeness of Handsome Jack from the Borderlands series. Borderlands. You gotta put a picture of this guy next to Handsome Jack and tell me it's not the same fucking person. He looks weird. He's a weird looking dude. Okay? So he comes out and he says, oh, EA's great, blah, 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 blah. All right, whatever. All right, so then they go ahead into Dragon Age Inquisition. And as this starts, right, all of a sudden, a female cellist comes out and starts playing the cello on the stage. And of course, it's the theme for Dragon Age Inquisition. She's playing on the cello. And all of a sudden, a big screen lights up above her showing gameplay footage of Dragon Age Inquisition. Okay? But the whole thing was funny to me because she's like playing the cello and they're showing all these environments and locations and everything for the game. And then finally it ends and I was like, and now to finish, a dragon comes out and eats this fucking woman right off the stage. But it didn't happen. I wanted it to happen, but it didn't happen. So then they got into some details about Dragon Age Inquisition, which I appreciated, because I'm the kind of guy, I'm not really staying on top of this stuff. I knew that, this new game, what it was going to be a new character. I did know that, but I didn't know what exactly was going on in it. So supposedly you play the role of the Inquisitor, and you're going around the world trying to find out what's going on with evil. I don't know. It's very unspecific what they were telling. But they show a combat scene, and they show off some of the abilities of your new team. There's a girl who's an elf, who I believe her name is Sarah, and she's like, ranged, kind of a deal, kind of similar to how Liliana played in Dragon Age Origins. You have Black Hall, who apparently is a Grey Warden, and he looks more like a well-balanced melee-style character, but maybe he has some other abilities. And I believe they also showed a new mage whose name is Vivia, and she's wild. I think she has darker toned skin. She's got this crazy-ass horns coming off her head. You know what she looks like? She looks like Maleficent, almost. But not, it's like, actually, you know what? She's like the exact negative of Maleficent. Maleficent's very pale with dark horns. This woman had like a very dark skin with pale horns. So Maleficent's in the game. She's in your party now. And so they're showing this action. At least from what I could tell, they were fighting this dragon, and it looked like there was area specific. Like if you hit him in the face, you would stun him. If you hit him in the wing, it distracts him, and he turns to defend his wing. And it looks like you may do more damage if you're attacking certain areas. So that could be. I don't know, but I'm just trying to interpret what I saw in this gameplay that they showed. And then actually they also showed all the characters, right? All the new characters. The one was called Iron Bull, who's this big Kamari dude who's supposed to be like a Kamari warrior. And the one thing they show, like 3 enemies are walking up to him, he just takes a giant mace, he goes boom, and a big area of effect comes out and knocks all the guys down. So, looks good to me. The game looks good to me. I'm excited that there's a new cast, but we already know, we've heard that Varric is going to be in the game. Remember Varric from Dragon Age 2? And also, Morrigan is supposed to be in the game. Apparently she's not playable, but she's like a character in the game. So it'll be cool to see how the characters from the previous games maybe make an appearance in this one. And it is coming out this October, so I'm pumped for it. Looks good to me. Okay. Alright, now by far, of anything that EA showed, this was the thing that everyone was like, yes, people were so excited. 100% confirmation that there is a new Mass Effect game in production by BioWare. And they said, this next one, we want it to be a completely different location in the universe than the previous ones. You know, we want it to be different. And, you know, we want to make sure that there's nothing going on where people have a misconception that this is going to be Shepard and all them. It's not. It's a different area, different location. You might see familiar races or whatever, but it is coming. Now, of course, it's, again, I guarantee you it's very early on in development, but it's good to hear they're working on Mass Effect. I'll be honest, I marked out. I even tweeted about it. Mass Effect is back. I'm excited. I cannot wait for another new Mass Effect, okay? And then they also announced that BioWare is going to be working also simultaneously on a brand new IP. So you know Mass Effect is coming, but you know BioWare's good, right? What game has BioWare put out that's not good? I mean, I liked every single one, I think. Mass Effect and a new IP is also coming out soon as well, so that's great. Okay? Oh my god. They literally spent like 10 minutes talking about The Sims 4. And I'm sorry, listen. If you're a fan of The Sims, great. But for people who aren't, it was like the most tedious fucking thing. Now The Sims are even more weird. Great. Fuck, who cares? Like, you know what The Sims is. Every version of The Sims is the same game with minor tweaks that change things around. The graphics improve a little bit. They add on a few new abilities, and then they come out with 400 expansions, so you'll buy the game 14 times over. The Sims, I mean, yes, it is a major seller for EA. It's a cash cow, but does that really need to be the thing that you push at E3, or do you realize you already have an installed fan base, and maybe that's not the thing you need to spend your time on at E3? I mean, I think that was a bad decision on their part, going on and on and on about The Sims. But that's just me. Then, they showed Bruce Lee talking. Oh, yes, you want to be like the water that can change properties inside of a tea kettle, and you want to crash against the sides of the kettle like the water. And everyone's like, what the fuck is he talking about? But Bruce Lee's awesome. Let's face it. Bruce Lee was one of the greatest martial artists of the modern times, you know. And, you know, his untimely death and everything was so crazy. And so now he's going to be in the new UFC game that comes out next week. And they're showing him in the game. Of all things, he's fighting BJ Penn. And it blew my mind because, you know, BJ Penn, I know who he is. I've seen his fights. And to see Bruce Lee fighting BJ Penn was pretty surreal. But one thing I have to say is this. It almost looked to me, you know, you got Bruce Lee. When you get hit by Bruce Lee, you're going to react. He was like striking BJ Penn repeatedly in the face, these big kicks. And BJ Penn was just like nothing, no reaction, just like a statue. And I'm like, I understand they're supposed to be tough guys, they can take a hit, but can we have some kind of reaction to being punched in the fucking face? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, it just seemed to me like this character models were still kind of mannequin-like and weren't as realistic as they could be, but maybe that's just me. Okay? Okay. NHL 15. Now, keep in mind, I haven't played NHL games, so I don't know anything about the gameplay. But from what they were saying, graphical improvements this year. The crowd is supposed to look like amazing. They also said that the characters themselves, and they showed the gameplay, and it is really detailed. It seems like it's just the next installment of NHL. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't seem like there's anything revolutionary or anything in it. Then Criterion Games came out, and they said they're making a new IP. They don't have a name for it yet. But it's basically every vehicle under the sun. You can skydive, you can fly, you can jet ski, you can drive, be on an ATV, you can parachute in on top of a vehicle and ride the vehicle. It's all about vehicles, and it's first person, by the way. It's a first person game, to which I said they should call it the Mountain Dew Simulator, because it seems like, isn't that the kind of thing, you know, extreme sports, Mountain Dew, energy drinks, and that's the kind of thing, X Games, right? So I don't know what they're actually going for, or what the point of the game is going to be, because it wasn't very clear from what they were showing. It seems interesting because it's different, but I don't know what the hell the game's about besides driving and riding a vehicle. Okay. Now this was hilarious. Oh my god, this was hilarious. The PGA Tour, which is their ongoing video game about golf, the sport of golf. Ladies and gentlemen, the next installment of PGA Tour will run on the Frostbite 3 engine, so we'll be able to do things you've never done before, and I swear to God, I'm not making this up. They show a guy about to hit the ball, he hits the ball, all of a sudden it shows there's a giant battleship with smoke coming out of it and explosions, and the ball flies over the battleship to a green on the other side. I was like, what? What is that? What? So they combined Battlefield with golf. I guess they've run out of ideas, right? And it was funny because the guy at the end of the trailer goes, and yes, you will actually be able to hit a ball over a battleship in this game. Everyone's like, what the fuck happened here? Why, can you go off the rails anymore? Very peculiar. Okay. Now up next was Madden, which, okay, yes, it has to be Madden, right, every year. So they say this year they're actually improving. They're not really focusing on graphics or anything like that. They're actually focusing on the defense. Most people have complained that playing the defense on Madden is boring. That a lot of the times when you're in the defensive line, you get locked up with someone. Now you're locked up, that's it. That's the end of the play for you. You'll never get unlocked from them, and therefore the defense is boring. So what they've decided to do is added in improvements to defense. You won't get stuck in blocks anymore. There's different options you can use on defense, okay? They also touted that they would have new camera angles, and they hired Emmy Award-winning film directors from football and football documentaries to do epic camera angles. And they show players like, I scored a touchdown, and they're doing gratuitous end zone dances and shit with the camera. And I'm like, this is what Madden is now pushing. End zone dances, you know? Okay, so if you think that you need to buy Madden this year for end zone dances, you go ahead and do that. Okay. Another one that really, I'm gonna be honest, didn't impress me. It's called Dawngate, and they're like, oh, it's a MOBA. But this is different from other MOBAs because we talked to the players since day one, and we got their input, and we have said, shh. And don't get me wrong. Am I saying that MOBAs are bad? No. Here's what I'm saying, because I said this in the stream chat, and I want to say it here publicly, because I think it needs to be said. The MOBA gaming community is huge. Let's face it, MOBAs, when their League of Legends is on Twitch TV, the site crashes because so many people are going to watch it. But the MOBA gaming community is a niche, meaning there's a certain group of people, all they play are MOBAs. They're addicted to MOBAs. They play MOBAs all day. They play MOBAs all night. They'll sink money into MOBAs. They'll watch the tournaments. They're into the culture. They know the players. And everyone outside of that knows nothing about it and doesn't give a shit. It's a niche. It's one division of gaming that exploded completely on its own, and everyone else is kind of out here on the outside. So for them to dedicate a big chunk, okay, of the conference to MOBAs so this MOBA coming up is like, I don't care. Either you really, really care or you don't. But the people that really, really care, if they actually want to find that info, will. Why do you need to be, talking about this during the EA press conference? I don't know. Okay? It could be the best MOBA on the planet, but if you don't like MOBAs, you don't care. Right? So, I don't know. I'm just saying, it really is this big, hyper-focused group of people. And there's a lot of them. There's hundreds of thousands of them. There's millions of people that play League of Legends on a daily basis. Don't get me wrong. I'm not down-talking the games. I'm saying it's its own entity outside of mainstream gaming, so why are we spending time at E3 talking about it? Just saying. Okay? Alright. Up next, Mirror's Edge 2. A lot of people were very excited. You could hear the crowd. Yeah, Mirror's Edge 2. And they're showing, the character models and everything from the game. And they're showing some demo gameplay. It's obviously not going to be in the game. It's like running through the stages where they're developing the game, where everything's white. And they basically said they actually hired, professional parkour artists and tried to figure out what are their strategies when they're doing parkour to do things, easily and more advanced. And they even mentioned that in this game, that you will have different ways to do the stages. It's not just one way that you could do it. There may be a way that for players who don't know as much or aren't as advanced or as good at it, they could take the slower, easier route. But for people who are advanced and are really getting the hang of the engine, they could do these crazy, parkour moves to take shortcuts and stuff and actually get through the stages a lot quicker. In my opinion, Mirror's Edge was it an anomaly? Yes, it was a unique game at the time. but it did well. I don't know why on earth they didn't make a sequel for so long. I'm happy to see it back. Mirror's Edge was actually one of the first games I did like a really serious playthrough of, and I enjoyed it a lot, and I'm going to be loving to do this now with direct capture. It's going to look so much better, too. My camera had a lot of issues during that playthrough. I'm very excited for Mirror's Edge 2. Okay. FIFA 15. This is hilarious because they open up the thing and the trailer. The guy's talking. Did you know? Well, he didn't say. He said football. It's like a definitive statement. Football is the most dramatic thing on planet Earth, and I'm like, unless you live in a country that doesn't really follow it, like the United States, because let's face it, in the United States, you know, football. First of all, we call it soccer. We don't even call it football, and it's not a big deal. We have our own sport, football. We have baseball, you know, basketball. All of those actually are more important and drawing bigger ratings and more attention in the United States than, you know, football. So it's kind of funny, but worldwide, the guy is correct. Worldwide, I'd say that football, soccer, whatever you call it, is the biggest sport. I just found it funny that this is like a cocky statement. Football is the most dramatic thing. I was like, really? Did you watch TMZ? That's pretty dramatic, too. But anyway, so what's new in FIFA this year? You've got the crowds are being redone, and the crowds are supposed to look like really super hyper-realistic. And from what they've shown, they did. They looked really good. The crowds looked really good. They said there's now the turf, the actual turf, will actually tear up and have patches and stuff that fly up during gameplay. I thought that was pretty neat. And, but I'll be honest, it looked like FIFA to me. And while they ran the trailer, I went and took a piss. Because I was like, I'm not missing anything, right? This is kind of the commonplace thing for every sports game that EA showed off. It's like it's the same thing. They're just improving a small tweak. If you're really a fan of that sport, you'll buy the new installment. Maybe you won't. Who knows? Okay. Visceral Entertainment, most known for the Dead Space series, is doing something completely different. It's called Battlefield Hardline. It's a game running on the Battlefield engine, but it's cops versus criminals. And as they explained this during the course of this presentation, they said that this game's going to have a 32-player online multiplayer heist mode, 16 cops, 16 criminals. And it's a multi-stage kind of thing where you go all the way from breaking out of the bank to or you know, knocking over the money car, you know, those armored cars, opening it up while the cops are coming in and zooming in cars and planes and choppers and shit trying to stop you. But you have your own teammates who are driving in on cars and mounted turrets and stuff trying to stop the cops. You grab the bag. Now you go into a getaway car. Guy drives you across the city in a getaway car. Meanwhile, you know, there's this big firefight going on all around you. People following you on bikes, following you in trucks, shooting at you, throwing grenades, blowing shit up. And then they show the destructible environments. It was hilarious because literally it's like the city of LA is losing millions in property damage for a heist that's probably for what? How much money did they carry in an armored car? $100,000, $500,000, $1 million bucks. Yet they're destroying the entire city of LA and things are crashing and whole bridges are exploding. It's out of control, right? So this is pretty neat. They actually follow. They show some interesting game elements. They switching between cops and criminals, so that you can see the difference in gameplay. And it seems that the criminals, your goal is just to go all out and keep that money in your possession and get to get out of there and succeed. For the cops, you actually get more points and or like a better rating if you do non-violent means. So they have tasers and stuff that they can use to take down the criminals. It seems like you get a higher point ranking and rating if you do that kind of stuff, non-violence. Or non-lethal, let's put it that way, non-lethal. Violent, yes, lethal, no. And then the end blew me away. Because at the end, they all get to this top of a skyscraper, but that's not the skyscraper they're going from. They all line zip over to another skyscraper. The guy who has the money bag, jumps inside of a chopper. As the chopper's taking off, a police chopper comes up behind him and shoots it and takes out the pilot. So the guy has to bail. He bails, hits the ground, and gets arrested. So it's like, even when you get to the getaway chopper, the game's not over yet. You still have to fly and escape, which is kind of wild when you think about it. So it's an interesting premise. It's basically the gameplay of Battlefield combined with elements from other games and turning it into a cops versus robbers simulation game. Will it work is the question. And it was funny because a lot of people were like talking about, oh, I don't know how this looks. This might be good or not. I can't tell. Then all of a sudden they did something unprecedented. They said, listen, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time ever E3, right now, we are launching a beta for the Battlefield Hardline. And you can get it right now on your PS4 as long as you still have the profile for Battlefield 4 in your PS4. You can go into that profile and get it immediately. Or there's a website where you can register either on PS4 or PC and go do that right now. So immediately they're like, that's it. By the way, the game's coming out on October 21st. Again, remember I said earlier on, the theme here is going to be October. October 21st, this game is coming out, and they're like, play the bit right now, right? And it's out immediately, thousands and thousands of people watching the stream turned on their PS4s and also tried to get on the website. PlayStation Network went down for like 10-15 minutes, and the website completely fucked up. You couldn't log into their stupid Origin service, so you couldn't get the beta. So some people did get it, but a lot of people are probably upset they couldn't get it. I was one of them. I was like, why the hell? First of all, I traded in Battlefield 4, so I had no idea I was ever going to need it again. And I deleted the save data from my PS4 because I needed more space for other games with their massive 50 gig installs. So I didn't have it. I couldn't get it on PS4 right away. I went to the website to try to get it, and the website wouldn't let me log into Origin. Every time I tried, it said, error. The sites were screwed up. Error. So I didn't get into the beta. No big deal, though. So overall, when you look at everything here, I would have to say, sports side of things, very disappointing. I didn't see really anything innovative or anything that really impressed me with their sports games this year. Again, just following that pattern of minor tweaks every year and slightly improving little things. Star Wars Battlefront, it was nice to see a tease of it, but I wish there was more. I wish there was gameplay. It was very disappointing that it was just watching the fucking game devs walk around the forest where the Ewoks were when they were filming. You don't need to do that shit. Just make the fucking game. Dragon Age Inquisition looked absolutely great. A new Mass Effect and a new IP from BioWare, that sounds great to me. The UFC looks okay, but I still think the character models need some work. You know, it was kind of like, it was feast or famine. Oh, here you go. You know, Mirror's Edge 2, that's great. FIFA 15 doesn't look so great. You know, you don't really know. So, it is what it is. I'm going to say that EA, overall, for their press conference, gets a B-. Okay? B-. It was good. It was better than Microsoft for sure. It had big titles, like I said, Mirror's Edge 2, a new Mass Effect. That will get your blood pumping and into. I cannot wait for new games from EA. But they didn't. I don't think they had enough to show yet. If you're gonna say a new Mass Effect, show us something. If you're gonna say Battlefront, show us something. You know. And those sports games are just the same every year. Really, the minor improvements. I wasn't very impressed. So overall, I give EA a B- on their E3 press conference, okay? So thanks everyone for tuning in. I hope that you enjoyed the recap. I'll be back also with other press conference recaps during the course of E3 2014. So be able to be sure to come back either whether you're watching this on stream on Twitch TV or on my YouTube, my DSPGaming channel, okay everyone? Thanks, and I will see you for more press conferences coming up.